Bismillah, Rahim. This is Aamer Alyzaee, keeping the lecture going on with the lecture 5, and the agenda of this particular lecture is in next slide. Lecture we discussed income elasticity, cross elasticity, and explained it with different examples and try to understand through numerical calculations. In this particular lecture, we will be discussing regression analysis and different forecasting techniques. In this slide, we will be discussing regression analysis in a way to implement the various techniques, how to implement them. Managers must be able to determine the mathematical relation between the economic variables that make up the various functions used in managerial economics. Which functions? कौन-कौन से functions हैं? Demand function, production function, cost function, or other related functions. For example, managers often must determine the total cost of producing various levels of output. The relation between cost function, total cost, and the quantity can be specified with the following formula. C is equal to A plus BQ plus CQ2 plus DQ3, where A, B, C, and D are the parameters of the cost equation. Parameters and coefficients in an equation that determine the exact mathematical relationship among the variables. So ये किस तरह से होता है mathematical relationship में value हमें कैसे calculate होके पता चलती है? We will discuss this. Once the numerical value of the parameters are determined, the manager then knows the quantitative relationship between output and the total cost. For example, suppose the value of the parameters of cost equation are determined और वो हमें मालूम है और हम उसको पैरामीटर A, B, C and D के लिए उन वैल्यूज़ को पुट अप करते हैं उसी फार्मूले में. तुम्हारे पास C is equal to 1262 plus 1Q plus minus 103 Q2 plus 0.05 Q3 की वैल्यू आती है. So एग्जाम्पल हम ये लेते हैं कि मैनेजर wishes to produce 30 units of the total cost can be calculated as C के अंदर जब Q की जगह पे हम 30 पुट करेंगे और कैलकुलेशंस करेंगे तो $1400 हमारे पास C की वैल्यू आ जाएगी. With this numerical value, so the cost function have to be used for decision making, and manager must know the numerical value of parameters. तो parameter की value manager को मालूम होंगी, इस formula में feed in होंगी, so then we will be able to make the final decision. Yes, we come to end, and in this lecture we will be discussing further in detail the regression analysis, its definitions and parameters. और पैरामीटर एस्टिमेट्स को हम देखेंगे कि किस तरह से उसकी डेफिनेशन आती है. एंड देन लीनियर रिग्रेशन, व्हाट इज दैट, एंड मल्टीपल लीनियर रिग्रेशन. सो दिस इज कमिंग इनटू द नेक्स्ट लेक्चर. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Aamer Alyzaee. I am a teacher cum trainer and teaching in different universities as visiting faculty. I am industry's person having more than 20 years of work experience in multinational organizations. I have started converting my professional experience via my delivered lectures on my YouTube channel. This will help students to grab knowledge in this technological era. At first, I will be focusing economics, starting lectures on managerial economics. This will be 5 to 6 streams in total. Each lecture will be between 5 to 10 minutes duration to keep the students intact in small patch of time instead of long lectures. Regression analysis involves both the estimation of parameter values and testing for statistical significance. The process of finding estimates of an numerical value of a parameter of an equation is called parameter estimation. Although there are several techniques for estimating parameters, the values of parameters are often obtained by using a technique called regression analysis. What is parameter? The parameter is the coefficient in an equation for determining the exact mathematical relation among the variables. Regression analysis uses data on economic variables to determine a mathematical equation that describes the relationship between the economic variables. In regression analysis, we come to know about two things. One is parameter estimate and second is the regression analysis. So what is parameter estimate? The process of finding estimates, वो process जिसके अंदर हम estimates को find करते हैं numerical values of parameter of an equation. जबकि regression analysis में statistical technique for estimating the parameters of an equation and testing for statistical significance. So that is the difference in between. So here in regression analysis, we are not as much interested in your knowing the ways the various statistics are calculated, as we are in your knowing how these statistics can be interpreted and used. So this is the main theme of this slide. In this slide, we can see different words and different terminologies used against regression analysis. How many you can see and what you can grasp out of it. So there are different words used as techniques and hypothesis, and vector, and binomial, assumptions, linear, so diagnostic, so predict population, and testable, casuals, spatial, experimental, parabolas. So you can look into the detail of it, that how many terminologies are under regression analysis. So here in regression analysis, we can see three components of it. One is linear regression, multiple linear regression, and non-linear regression. So what is linear regression? We have to look at the definition of it. A simple regression model that gives a straight line relationship between two variables, and that's called a linear regression model. So in linear regression model, we can see different words as penalties, complexities, models, coefficients, variables, intercepts, regularizations, residual. So these are different words which are used in the linear regression. So basic of the linear regression is that it is a simple straight line between two variables. Before going into the detail, we must know the two concepts, the correlation analysis and regression analysis. What is correlation analysis? The test for the strength and direction of a relationship between two quantitative variables, whereas regression analysis evaluates and measures the relationship between two quantitative variables with a linear equation. This equation has the same element as an equation of a line, that is a slope of an intercept. So example, हमारे पास formula क्या है? Y is equal to a plus bx. Multiple linear regression, when we are going into that details, multiple regression model क्या है कि regression model that contains more than one regressor variable, or a multiple regression model that is a linear function of the unknown parameter. वो unknown parameter कौन कौन से हैं कि बीटा नॉट है, बीटा 1, बीटा 2 एंड सो ऑन. सो एग्जांपल्स हमारे पास, एग्जांपल y is equal to बीटा नॉट, बीटा 1, ये फार्मूला आ रहा है. log 10 y is equal to, again this formula is there. So when we put the values, known values and known parameter values into these equations, so we get the answer for that. non-linear की हमारे पास क्या एग्जांपल आ रही है कि y minus beta naught, और इसी तरीके से ये फार्मूलाज जो हैं, we must know these formulas before calculating or understanding the regressional analysis. So these values these formulas give us the exact understanding of it कि वो positive direction में जा रहा है, negative direction में जा रहा है. So with this we come to an end to this lecture. Next lecture के अंदर हम लोग further regression में non-linear regression से related equations को discuss करेंगे, उसकी graphical representation को देखेंगे कि linear line के against किस तरह से डॉट स्पॉट होते हैं और वो किस तरह से एक्सप्लेनेशन आती है उसकी, लीनियर की, नॉन लीनियर की. रिग्रेशन की डेफिनेशंस को देखेंगे और आगे चल के हम लोग उसकी ग्राफिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन, फोरकास्टिंग और फोरकास्टिंग टेक्निक्स विल बी द नेक्स्ट डिस्कशन पॉइंट्स इन अपकमिंग लेक्चर. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. Carrying on to the lecture 5 stream 2. In this lecture we will be discussing simple, multiple, non-linear regression. Graphically we will have a look at it, its graphical representations, forecasting and forecasting techniques. In this slide we will be discussing the simple linear regression equation and multiple linear regression equation. Simple linear regression equation is y is equal to p naught plus b1 x1. Whereas looking into the multiple linear regression, there is y is equal to b0 plus b1 to x1, b2 into x2, and then carries on to bn and xn. The main point here to be noted is that y is a dependent variable that becomes dv, and the IVs are x1, x2, and xn. Nonlinear regression, what it states, if the curve of a regression is not a straight line, कि regression का जो curve है वो straight line नहीं होगा. The first degree equation is the variables x and y, and then it is called a linear line regression or curvilinear regression. तो इनकी equations को हम देखते हैं. Consider a cubic polynomial relation. इस relationship के लिए equation use होती है, वो किस तरह से explain होती है. y is equal to alpha plus beta 1x, beta 2x2, and beta 3x cube. To convert above equation in linear form, we define new variables. So that what are those new variables? That is x1 is equal to x1, x2, x square, x3 is equal to, and if x is x cube. So if we define these in this way, thus the equation becomes for the dependent variable y, that becomes alpha plus beta 1x1 plus beta 2x2 plus beta 3x3. So this shows the right equation in which when we will have the parameters and the values available, when we put that value, so we can calculate the dependent variable. This is solvable by the method of least square. Here we can see the graphical representation of linear and non-linear, in which you can see the red line on the left top pan. You can see the red straight line. So the blue dots are plotting data above and below. The regression line is linear line, whereas we are looking into the non-linear relationship. So just we discussed it in the previous slide that it will not be a straight line, so it's the curved line going upwards, and you can see the plotted data around it. In the left bottom, the response and the concentration, that is also a curved line, again discussing linear and non-linear. So you must know, you must keep it in your mind, and the dotted line, the spots which are plotted on a straight line gives you the linear representation like this. And if you're looking into the right bottom pans, the non-linear one, so the curved line is going upward, and the other one, the curved line, is showing us the down slope. So a curved line having upslope, and the down slope will be explained as non-linear, whereas linear line, it's a straight line and the data is plotted against that. So this is the graphic representation. One should understand the basics of it. What is regression? So from feature to predictions, that is data towards regression and then towards intelligence. So from data to regression, it's input X, features derived from data, learning X to Y as a relationship, and prediction Y as continuous output or response to input. So there are three different definitions related to the regression. I have just given this brief definitions of it. The population regression line, the equation or line representing the true or actual underlying relation between the dependent variable and the explanatory variables, whereas the sample regression line, the line that best fits the scatter of data points in the sample and provides an estimate of the population regression line, whereas hypothesis testing is the statistical technique for making a probabilistic statement about the true value of parameters. So in a true regression line, when we look at the example graphically and through a tabulation form, it is explained that the difference between the sales, the coordination between the sales and the monthly advertisement expenditure. So regression line is this blue line which is going straight. The true regression line is going up, whereas if you look at the advertisement cost, the $3,000 on the y-axis, and then it is increased from 3,000 to 4,000, you can clearly see the impact of monthly sales. From 25,000 it moves towards $30,000. So that is the impact of the advertisement. If we look at the table below, so X company travel agencies expenditure Y, and the Z companies travel agencies expenditures of $3,000 per month on advertisement. Same for all of the three, but actual sales, the first one is going 30,000, the other is 21,000, and then 25,000. So expected sales for three of them, they are targeting $25,000, whereas the random effect is for the X company it is $5,000. They have gone to the profit, whereas for the Y company it has gone minus 4,000, and the Z company it is on the par, so it gives the value of zero. It means not profit or loss. This means that advertisement, so there are 2 points which needs to be explained. The advertisement cost is in one block $3,000 does not mean that each and every company must get $5,000 profit. Some will go in profit, some minus, someone will remain the no profit no loss thing. But the main agenda, as shown in the graphical representation here, when the advertisement cost is increased from 3,000 to 4,000 and then 5,000 and going towards the 9,000, so the sales will push from 25 to 30,000 and then going beyond the limit, that is 25,000. So just giving you the practical life example of Pepsi and Coke, it is said that they spend heftiest cost right on the advertisement. You might have seen the advertisement in Pakistan. Cricket is famous, so you have seen the advertisement tags on the cricketers' uniform, where they are looking into the Europe, the footballers or the tennis players or bikers or motor car racing or even different sports. So you can see the advertisement tags even on their uniforms, on their kits as well. So that means that advertisement plays a major role into the sales of any brand. The next point we will be discussing is the forecasting. What is forecasting? Forecasting gives you the future and the past. So you get the data from the past, that is gathering, analyzing data about the past. You can see dinosaurs and the old Tonga style life there. So getting the information and the data from the past to fix your current scenario and then think about the future. So future is use this data to predict the future and to work and scientifically and to bring new products and new items to make life easier and moving this world towards the scientific directions. In forecasting techniques, we will be discussing this table below, but not going into that much detail. Only you must know that there are different techniques which are being used, one or two which are famous. I will reflect that. A forecasting technique, there is a number one judgmental model, then Delphi's model. Delphi model is the model which is being used mostly, and then time series method, moving average, exponential smoothing, and seasonality models. These are those models which are being used for doing the forecasting techniques. Whereas the casual method or regression analysis, that is the famous most which is being used for forecasting techniques. So Delphi model and regression analysis, these are the techniques which are used for academic research work. This is Aamer from Alyzaee. In this particular lecture in stream 4, we will be discussing level of forecasting, different levels of forecasting, and forecasting techniques, and in depth we will be understanding the forecasting techniques. Level of forecasting. In this we will discussing 2 points. Demand projections may not be 10% correct or accurate, more so when the scope of demand forecast is wide. Different levels of demand forecasting may be attempted by business firms. So business firm, the choice remains with the business firms, how they want to move on. So there are different levels of forecasting: micro level, meso level, and macro level. So in micro level, forecasting is restricted to a particular brand or a specific product, like a demand for, let's say, Dolan's microwave or Toyota or Honda or Ford or Audi, so the different car brands. Then in meso level, the firm attempts to project the demand for a product group, like the demand of for a washing machine or a refrigerator or a conditioner, specific one. Macro level, with the firm attempts to examine the future demand for all automobiles or TV sets, rather the demand for a particular brand name or product group. So it is known as macro level forecasting for demand. So So why forecasting techniques? So forecasting techniques are used to bring accuracy, least possible cost, minimum use of other resources, choice of techniques, urgency, and this all depends on the availability of data. So classification of forecasting techniques, we divide it into techniques. One is qualitative techniques and the other is quantitative techniques. So one is called quality, the other is quantity. So in qualitative techniques, obtaining information about the likes and dislikes of consumer, suited for short-term demand forecasting. Demand forecast for new products can be made only by quantitative techniques. The qualitative techniques, demand for existing product can be forecasted by using this method. Whereas in quantitative techniques, forecast future demand for using quantitative data from the past and extrapolating it to make forecasting for future levels. So this is suited for long-term demand forecasting. Forecast for new products for which no past data is available cannot be made for quantitative techniques, as extrapolation is not possible. Demand for existing products can be forecast by using this method also. There is another technique used which is called expert opinion method, and there is the view of experts on the likely level of demand in the future are sorted. So panel consensus, if the forecasting is based on the opinion of several experts, then it is known as panel consensus. Like HEC or any other senior body or board of directors, they require the special panel for it, like construction of a dam or any special project like Atahabad Lake. So there was panel consensus, a panel discussion was done on that, how to mitigate that problem. So that minimizes individual deviations and personal biasness. Expert opinion method, in Delphi's method, this method seeks the opinion of a group of experts through email about the expected level of demand. So you need to send that is, you can say, from the external partners as well who are not present in the country. They are the experts in their field and doing job in different universities or in different organizations outside of the country. So you send an email to them and then get the expert opinion from them. The responses received are analyzed by an independent body. So this method takes care of the disadvantages of the panel consensus, where some powerful individual could have influenced the consensus. With this, we come to the conclusion of this particular lecture, and in next lecture we will be discussing the advantages and disadvantages of expert opinion, advantages, disadvantages of consumer complete enumeration survey, and what else, the sales force opinion. So the advantages and disadvantages will be discussed in the upcoming lecture. Assalam Alaikum. This is Aamer Alyzaee continuing from the previous lecture, and we will be discussing the advantages or disadvantages in this formal lecture. What are the advantages of the expert opinion method? It's simple to conduct, can be used where quantitative data is not available. The forecasting is reliable and is based on the opinion of the people who know the product very well. It means that they are on the expert level. But it is inexpensive and takes less time. What are the disadvantages of using this method? The results are based on mere hunch of one or more person and not a scientific analysis. The expert may be biased, the method is subjective, and the forecast could be unfavorable, influenced by person with vested interest. So it totally depends on the inner feeling and inner expertise involved in it. Consumer complete enumeration survey. This method is based on the complete survey of all the consumers for the commodity under consideration. Interviews or questionnaires are used. So in this particular survey, there are advantages and disadvantages. Both are involved, and advantages are that quite accurate, it's simple to use and not affected by personal biasness, whereas disadvantages are on the higher side, that it is costly, it's time consuming, difficult and impossible to survey all the consumers, open to faulty recording and wrong interpretations, can be used only for products with limited consumers. So consumer sample format is miniature form of complete enumeration method. Only a few consumers selected and their views collected. What are the advantages? An important tool, especially for short-term projections. Simple, does not cost much, works quickly, give excellent results if used carefully. Whereas the disadvantages are conclusions are based on the view of only a few consumers and not all of them. Sample may not be true representative of the entire population. In this slide, we will be discussing the Salesforce opinion survey. The employees of a company who are part of a sales and marketing team are asked to predict future levels of demand. Salesforce opinion advantages are simplest of forecasting method, less costly, easy to collect data, whereas there are disadvantages of this as well. Consumer tastes and preferences keep changing. Past trends may not continue in the future. Opinion of Salesforce may thus be erroneous. Salesforce may give biased views as the projected demand affects their future job prospects. With this, we come to an end of this lecture, and in the next lecture, we will be discussing advantages, disadvantages of the consumer end-use survey, the quantitative techniques in detail, their trends, barometric forecasting, econometric techniques, and other techniques as well. So keep stick to these lectures, and I hope you will be understanding the basics of managerial economics. Assalam. Rahim. This is Aamer Alyzaee, continuing with the lecture 5, its last stream 6. So we will be discussing advantages and disadvantages of different techniques in this slide. In this slide, we will be discussing the consumer end user survey, the advantages and the disadvantages of it. So yields accurate predictions, provides sector-wise demand forecast for different industries, especially useful for producers' goods. Requires complex and diverse calculations. It's costlier, time-consuming, and industry data may not be readily available. You have to put certain efforts into it, and even then you may not have 100% data with you. These are forecasting techniques that make use of historical quantitative data. A statistical concept is applied to the existing data in order to generate the predicted demand in the forecast period. These quantitative techniques are also known as statistical methods. So here we can use SPSS for the larger data and smart PLS for the small data ranging between 300 to 500, and it will give you the same manipulation of the results. Trend projection method, assuming that past trend will continue in future. Past trend is extrapolated. Constant message method, it is assumed that the percentage growth rate of sales between the base year and the terminal year would remain unchanged. Whereas in time series analysis, we can see the sales of the commodity over the past 15-20 years are plotted on a graph. The year-to-year oscillation are smoothened and a trend line is fitted using a statistical method. Trend projection method. The advantages are the very simple method, provides reasonably accurately forecast, quick and inexpensive. Disadvantages can be used only if past data is available. It is not necessary that past trend may continue to hold good in future as well. Barometric forecasting. So we have to look at the advantages and disadvantages of barometric forecasting. Advantages are a simple method, predict directional changes quite accurately. Disadvantages are do not predict the magnitude of changes very well. So this means that barometric cannot be used for the larger analysis. The method can be used for short-term forecast only. Metric techniques, it is assumed that demand is determined by one or more variables, that is income, population, or exports, etc. Demand is forecast on the basis of systematic analysis of economic relation by combining economic theory with mathematical and statistical tools. So that gives the overview of the econometric. Econometric techniques also has advantages and disadvantages, produce reliable and accurate results, forecast not only the direction but also the magnitude of the change. So it means it has to be done on the bigger plotting. Disadvantages, use complex calculations, costly and time consuming. Significance of demand forecasting, useful to following decision makers, for let's say for producers, to allocate various factors of production for maximizing of profit, to plan for expansion of scale of operations, whereas the policymakers and planners can also use it to formulate economic policies through planning. Commission for allocating resources to ensure adequate supply of input for achieving the objectives of industrial policy. Import export policies, credit policies, policy distribution. So this means this can be used for different policy makers. Other groups of the society, so useful to researchers, social workers, and other for the futuristic approach to understand the gap in supply and their impact on the price or the economy. So this was just an overview to have a better understanding on this particular point. With this we come to the conclusion of chapter 5, and from tomorrow we will start chapter 6 with the stream 1, and in that we will be discussing the law of return and returns to the scale, basically the economy of scale and its scope that will be discussed. So stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum.